Well, now we're going to look at solving a triangle when we got what is called an ambiguous case. And an ambiguous case exists when the angle measures, the measures that we know of the triangle involve side-side angle. Now, we've got a chart right here that kind of gives us a little bit of a guide, but we're going to discover here right off the bat some of the evilness of our textbook manufacturers. Because if we were to follow, we're going to find here in a moment, if we follow this chart to the letter, and I mean specifically to the letter, we're going to get confused. So we're going to have to think about this, but hey, that's what math is all about. It's about thinking. It's about critical thinking. So here we've got, we know that we got one side, we're going to call it A, which is 12. And then, let me start over here with the angle, I guess better. I know angle B, and it's 61 degrees. And the side opposite it, lowercase b, is equal to 8. And then I know a second side, which is I'm given a measure of 12. I don't know what kind of units it is. But the one thing I do know is that the angle that we've been given is acute. And so since it's acute, I'm going to be up in this section here trying to figure out what's going on. Now, the reason why I say if we follow this to the letter, if I look at this first case here, where A is less than B, and then A is less than H, I might be tempted to compare A to B. Well, A is greater than B. But I really need to rearrange this because this is really about the side opposite the angle I know. And so I'm going to rearrange this to where B is equal to 8 and A is equal to 12 and angle B is equal to 61 degrees. It's an acute angle. So then I'm first looking at this and say, okay, is the side opposite the angle that I know, is it less than the other side measure that I've been given? And yes, 8 is less than 12. So it's right now, so now I'm going to take the second half of this thing, which it says then is A, in our case this is B, is 8 less than H? That's what I'm trying to find. And that'll help tell me whether I've got no solution, one solution, two solutions, or whatever. Now, that brings us to how can I find H? H is the height now, because we're not dealing with the right triangle. Well, we may be, but we don't really know. We just know that one side is 160, one angle is 61. That means the other two angles together, let's see, if I take 180 minus 61, that's going to be 129. I could have two other acute angles. I could have a right angle in there. I could have an obtuse angle. I could have all kinds of things that could happen with the 129 degrees that I've got left. I just don't know at this point. So we're going to see, how does side B relate to the height of this triangle? Now, you may be asking, how do I determine the height? Well, the height is equal to the angle that we know, the sine of the angle we know, in this case that's 61, times the other side, not the side opposite 61, but the other side, and that's 12. Okay, I hope you're following that. So we're going to take 12 times 61, and we're going to get an approximate value for H. And it is approximately equal to, so H is approximately equal to 10.50 when I do a little bit of rounding there. And now I'm going to compare, okay, 8 and 10.5 are roughly 10.5. Well, 8 is less than 10.5, or the height. And so it does fit this first scenario. The side opposite the angle I know is less than the other side that I've been given. In this case, 8 is less than 12. And then we calculated the height based upon the other side times the sine of the angle we know. And we then relate the side opposite the angle we know to that height. We see that it is also less. And so guess what? For all of that, there is no solution. This is not even a triangle. All three sides are not going to actually meet. So, well, let's look at one more. Hopefully it's not quite as bad, although I think it's still got some little twist in it. All right, this time we got, we're told angle A, and side A. Well, at least that's good news. All right, so the angle we know is 30. The side opposite it is 13. And then we have another side measure, which is C, 26. Well, first off, 13 is less than 26. All right, so, but that means we still got to find the height of this triangle. Because every situation that we've got up here for an acute angle, since 30 is an acute angle, everyone is still in play except for that one right there. Because the side opposite the angle we know is not greater than the other side that we've been, greater than or equal to the other side we've been given. Well, again, let's think about H. H, we can find the height by multiplying the additional side that we've been given, which in this case is 26, times the sine of 30. Well, let's see what we got. 26 times the sine of 30. That's 13. Oh, so H equals 13. The side opposite the angle we know is also 13. So 13 equals 13, which means what? That this is our scenario. So that we've got one solution, and in fact, we have a right angle. So we got one angle that is going to be 90 degrees. We got another angle that we know is going to be 60 degrees. No, we know an angle 90. We now know we got the other angle given is 30. So that means that B must be equal to 60. Okay, well, let's see. Now we just got to figure out which is which. Now, we don't know which angle that is. We just know we got a 60-degree angle. All right, so let's just start dealing with what we know then. Let's say then that we're going to use the law of sines. We'll move it up here. So we then can say that the sine of 30 over 13 is equal to the sine, we don't know which one it is. Well, we're going to say sine of C. Yeah, we're going to say sine of C because we're going to use side C. We're going to use what we know. And then when we cross multiply, we've got 26 times the sine of 30 over 13 equals the sine, and it's going to be the inverse because we're trying to find the angle measure of C. All right, so let's see what we got. I'm going to take the, well, I'm going to do it the long way. I'm going to say 26 times the sine of 30 divided by 13. Oh, I get 1. That already tells me what angle C is, but I'm going to go ahead and say, well, let me see. I want to see the inverse sine of 1. And Shazam, that's 90 degrees. So, C, angle C, equals 90 degrees. Which means, of course, then, that angle B must be 60 degrees. 30 plus 60 plus 90 all equals 180. Now, I'm going to stick with the measures, most of the measures that I know, And we're going to find side B, because we've got to do that to finish off with the solving the triangle. So I've got the sine of 30 over 13 equals the sine of 60 over side B. And we're going to do a little cross multiplication where B times the sine of 30 equals 13 times the sine of 60. And then to get B by itself, we're going to take 13 sine of 60 and divide it by the sine of 30. And that should give us some kind of approximate measurement for side B. So let's see here what we got. All right, 13 times the sine of 60 divided by the sine of 30. And that equals, rounding it to the nearest tenth of a nearest tenth is going to be 22.5. All right, so what is our solution to this triangle? Well, we started off knowing that side angle A was 30, side A was 13. We were also given side C was 26. We found that angle C is 90, which led us to angle B equaling 60. And then finally, side B is equal to approximately 22.5. And that makes sense because our hypotenuse should be the longest side. The side opposite the angle 30 should be the smallest side, and it is. And the side opposite the 60-degree angle should be in between side A and side C. Shazam, there we go. It's a little bit confusing, but hey, we're expert mathematicians and we can figure it out. How about that? How about that?